videos for Chapter 9 were simulated counseling sessions. The first with the young lady feeling overwhelmed in trying to find a balance between life and wanting to perform well on her new job resonated better with me. Honestly though, I'm not sure entirely if it was the counselor or the counselee that made me feel like that was a session that I could participate in as a client. Both films were what I imagined, and I found them surprising kind of at the same time. They were what I imagined because they're very similar to other simulated session videos that I've seen, and yet they were surprising because they are very different than my experience in counseling. I identify with the client's sense of overwhelm very much, but I also appreciated the reflective approach that the counselor took in reframing the information when he spoke it back to her. I got the sense that he really wanted to make sure he understood her root problem and led her through a thought process that would help her to solve it for herself. I saw him as calm, basically not showing tension about the environment, the client, or her concerns, using paraphrasing, showing a genuine interest in what she was saying, being empathetic, being assertive when she tried to deflect and repeat her same answers without diving any deeper. It felt like a warm and respectful relationship between them. I also noticed that he used a number of nonverbal encouragers, like leaning in slightly, nodding his head, and using his hands to signal that he wanted more detail from her. The theoretical orientation I saw was Adlerian, because the whole context was her environment and her social connections to it. And in the idea that a person is the one in charge of changing him or herself. Because this mirrors my belief about many of our problems lying in not being meaningfully connected to our social world, and each of us holds the key to our own fate. Adlerian theory is the one that I am most attracted to as a foundation. During a particularly difficult period in life, I saw a counselor 4 or 5 times. Their office practiced positive psychology. However, the way that it was done felt more like torture to me. The counselor refused to begin the session until I told him 3 positive things that had happened during the preceding week. And this was at a time, a very difficult time, when survival really was my main concern. When we could get past that, the entire session focused on how I needed to find something good in a horrible situation. I needed help to either change or escape that situation, not to feel condemned that I wasn't making the most of it and finding beauty in the ashes. The modality, or as I said before, their interpretation of it didn't work for me. And that counselor was totally inflexible with the demand to find those 3 positive things each time. And so I quit. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel understood. I didn't sense any warmth from him. And it seemed like I had to fit neatly into his box to be worthy of his attention. The holisticness of approaching my issues from an Adlerian perspective would have been welcome as a way to work through to find a solution. If my counseling experience had played out like the ones in these examples, especially the first one, the young lady that was feeling overwhelmed, there's a strong likelihood that I would have completed the entire course for counseling. One question that I had about the counseling session that I viewed was, why was all of the focus on the job? The client stated in the very beginning that she wanted to find a better balance between home and work. And yes, it sounds like the new job makes a lot of demands and it's a big adjustment. But I was curious if there was also a stressor in the home environment that would play into the need to find a better balance. Or if the scales are tipped so heavily to the job side, it's what is throwing her equilibrium off Why wouldn't the counselor inquire about how that was impacting things at home? Or is there something at home that's a little off, and that's why the job adjustment is harder? I feel like both sides of the equation should get attention, and they didn't, at least not in the part of the session that we observed on the video. Thank you.